Do you have a God who speaks through dreams? Do you know what to do when your dreams reveal a future that looks bleak?
Oh.
Now let's read the passage. Then I will show you how we can apply its timeless truths to our lives today. Now as we begin, please note that this is part 27 of our Genesis 41 study. If you'd like to start from the beginning, just click on the link provided. In verses 14 it says, "And Pharaoh said to Joseph, 'In my dream I was standing on the bank of the river, watching as 7 cows came up out of the river, fat and healthy looking. And they were grazing in the grass on the other side of the river. Behold, 7 more ugly cows came up after them, lean and sickly, and stood by the first group of cows. They drank from the water, but could not eat. And I awoke, and behold, it was a dream.' So Pharaoh had another set of troubling dreams, and he summoned Joseph, the prisoner, to come and interpret them. Let's notice 3 things about these dreams. First, there were 2 sets of cows, 7 healthy cows and 7 sickly cows. Second, the healthy cows grazed, but the sick cows could only drink. Third, Pharaoh saw these cows in a riverbank. As Joseph explained the meaning of the dream to Pharaoh, he said that the healthy cows represent 7 years of plenty, but the skinny cows represent 7 years of famine, so the 7 years of famine would come right after the 7 years of plenty. But notice how Joseph added to the dream. He said that the healthy cows are 7 years and the skinny cows are 7 years, which means the dream had 2 sets of 7 years. Next, Joseph explained to Pharaoh that the river that he saw in his dream really represented the Nile River. So Pharaoh asked Joseph, "What do you think this means?" And Joseph responded in verses 32 and 33. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "In my dream, the Nile River coming out of the mouth of the east, and behold, 7 streams came out of the river, and I awoke." Then Joseph said, "The 7 streams are 7 years." So now we see that Joseph interpreted the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine, as well as the Nile River, all in one dream. As Joseph continued to explain the dream to Pharaoh, he told him that the next 7 years of plenty would be followed by 7 years of famine. And in fact, the famine would be so severe that the whole world would be affected. In verse 37, Joseph then reminds Pharaoh, "I say to Pharaoh, your dream is one and the same thing. God has shown you 7 years of plenty are to be followed by 7 years of famine, and that there will be an end to the world as a whole. It will come about that the increase of this land, which it produces in the 7 years that are to come, will be forgotten. For the famine will be so severe that this land will become desolate." So at this point, Joseph has just revealed a bleak future for Egypt. 7 years of famine, which would destroy their economy and devastate their population. But notice what happens next. In verse 38 it says, "And the words of the butler and the baker did indeed come to pass in Pharaoh's presence. The butler received his position again, and the baker was hanged." So before Joseph interpreted the dream, the butler was in prison, and the baker was going to be executed. But after Joseph interpreted the dream, the butler got his job back, and the baker was executed. So how did this happen? Well, because in verse 39 it says, "Then Pharaoh said to his servants, 'Can we find anyone else who can interpret dreams like this?' He told him, 'No, such a one is not found.' So when Pharaoh heard this, he said, 'Well, I will declare it to him, and I will appoint him over all the land of Egypt.' So Pharaoh made Joseph governor over all the land of Egypt. And as it says in verse 41, Pharaoh said to Joseph, 'Look, I have set you over all the land of Egypt.' So it was that Joseph became ruler over all of Egypt. So even though Joseph was a prisoner, God raised him to the highest place possible, the governor of all of Egypt, simply because Joseph was willing to live a life that honored God. So as we close, let us take a moment to thank God that no matter where we are or what situation we find ourselves in, God can and will raise us to places of honor if we live a life that honors Him. Thank you for joining me for this study. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, let me know in the comments how God may be using this mini-series on the life of Joseph in your life right now. Look forward to reading your comments. Till next time, thanks for watching.